welcome back. Please welcome back to the stage the director, Mr. Stanley Nelson.
Director of Archival Research, Maddie, Archival Research. Anybody else? No forgetting? I just want to thank you all so much. I want to thank you all because we worked incredibly hard on this film. We sent it to Sundance. It was not nearly done, and Sundance said, yes, we want to see another cut. So we worked on it, just crazily trying to get this film ready up until last week. I don't think anybody slept for a long time. So thank you all. Thank you all.
Let's go to the audience. I think there's a lot of energy from you all. Hello, yes.
First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for making the film. It was wonderful. And I'm just really curious in terms of when you were selecting the different selections of schools and things of this sort that you were going to present in the film. How do you deal with the demise of the HBCUs in terms of the ones that are dying? Unfortunately, I'm a Howard grad, so I'm so proud that Howard is doing well and thriving. But for the Morris Browns and Stillman colleges and other smaller universities, Russ colleges, that they need it because just school year was so emotional because like my grandma's in Mississippi, my grandmother's 89, her grandmother was a slave, my grandmother went to 8th grade, my mother went to Des Moines on, I went to Howard, so the evolution continues, and so we need not just the bigger ones, but also the tiny ones too, so people can still continue to grow.
Yeah, I think the essence of that question was how do we pick and choose what we covered. I mean, that was one of the biggest and hardest things for us to do. I mean, there's still over 100 colleges, black colleges and universities out there, and we knew that we wanted to tell stories, and that was the only way that we could make a film by telling stories and not for it to be a survey, and that that there were grade schools that we were going to have to leave out, and that hopefully that as you see the film you get an idea of the totality of the experience of black colleges. We're also covering 170 years of history at the same time. So, early on, I just realized that was a bullet we were going to have to bite. We're going to show this film all around, and then review, what about my school, what about my school, what about my school? And, I'm just going to have to say, we did our best to give you an idea of the experience. One thing we are doing is doing some pieces for the web, shorter pieces that we're going to start on now that will talk about some things that we weren't able to talk about in the films, such as maybe fraternities and sororities a little bit more in depth, sports a little bit more in depth, some things like that we just couldn't cover. I mean, part of the real hard part about making a film is that you have a slot. If this film's got to go into a 90-minute slot, you can't. It's not like writing a book. You can call your publisher and say, let me add a few more pages. It's hard to call a TV station and say, let me add a couple more hours. It doesn't work. So that was that we just had to do it. I just also want to say that I alluded to this in the beginning. This film, you see, the people who funded the film, the National Endowment for the Humanities is on the chopping block with this administration. PBS, CPB, are on the chopping block with this administration. And this is, this is the type of film that they're trying to cut. This is the subversive film, the film that doesn't matter, that they're trying to cut. One of the things that's happening is that, there is no truth. you know, I do believe there is truth, and that we have to tell the truth, and it's really important. And that we tell it, you know, and that it's told by these public institutions. And you know, this film would not have been made. We would not be standing here if it wasn't for PBS and CPB and ITBS and Independent Lens and National Endowment for the Humanities. There's no way this film would have gotten made. This history just wouldn't have been told. There's nobody else who's going to tell it.
Can you just stand up and say it loud so let's repeat the question? We can.
I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for making this film. And although I didn't attend the HBCU, I have an 8-year-old son, and I look forward to the day that he can actually step onto an HBCU campus. So the one thing I wanted to say is for those people that are in the room and you're wondering, what can I do to become more involved? I encourage you the next time you turn your television on and you pass the United Negro College Fund telethon, or you get involved in the NAACP, or if you have a local HBCU in your town, please don't pass up that opportunity. Provide the funding because it is so critical that we continue to develop young Black minds. You may have heard about the Hidden Figures. Those were women that attended historically Black colleges, very brilliant young women. And we need to continue to have these types of schools around so that we can continue to cultivate the next generation of young African-American leaders. So thank you so much. My second comment that I want to make, more of a question, you talked about the funding for PBS and the National Humanities, I think, being on the chopping block. What is the next step for this? Do you plan to take this into the schools? Or are you planning to try to distribute it through some other means?
Okay, thanks all for the question. So the film will air on Independent Lens on PBS. We're still trying to lock down the date. It will be either next fall or next February. I'll put my plug in. We're hoping for next fall, but we'll see. So it will air nationally on PBS through Independent Lens, and until then, we have a long rollout. We're going to a lot of festivals. Again, we just finished the film less than a week ago, so we're still trying to figure everything out. But we're going to a lot of different festivals. For those in New York, we're at Doc Fortnight at the Museum of Modern Art in early February, and we're in LA at the Pan-African Film Festival. So, you know, we're going to go to festivals and then roll it out to schools and other places. If I could, I just want to bring up the other people from Firelight, because, you know, we are, I don't know what we are exactly. We're like a mob. So please, come on out. We got a big crew here this year,
Well, you got a lot of folks.
So,
one, like everybody else said, thank you for the film. And I'm wondering, as you go on, or maybe what's your perspective now, but as you get a chance to go on the web and those kinds of things, we can talk about the concept of how many of the historically Black colleges we still need, and you also touched on on the fraternities. Do you see that augmenting the Black college experience? You know, where maybe somebody's in an area where they can't attend one. That was my case. I pledged Alpha out of Berkeley.
Yeah, that's an interesting phenomenon of people pledging Black fraternities at non-Black institutions. You know, I think that is a discussion that we'll have. It's a very interesting discussion. I should say that there's two large organizations, the United Negro College Fund, that represents the private Black colleges, and the Thurgood Marshall College Fund that represents the public Black College Fund and Black colleges. I'm sorry. And between the two of them, I think every Black college is in one or the other. So those are the two groups. If you want more information about what's happening now, I mean, I think in talking to you know, our advisors and other people, there is a feeling that, you know, in the next 20 years, other colleges will continue to close. That will happen. But that there will be a number of colleges that survive and thrive, and that we have to support them and make them robust, because there still is a need for Black colleges.
Yeah.
Hi, first and foremost, thank you. So my question is, As a student, I'm in my junior year in college, but I go to a predominantly white institution. I originally got accepted into Spelman, but the issue with that is Spelman didn't give as much money, and the white institution gave me a full ride. So my question is, what do you plan? Do you see your film addressing these issues through colleges? I understand like a lot of black colleges and universities don't have as much money, but there are students who really want to be at these institutions who just can't afford it. How do you see your film helping with issues like that?
Anybody else want to?
Oh, repeat it though, because
Well, the question, I suppose, was you wanted to go to a black college, but they weren't offering you enough money to go to a white college. And how do you think the film's going to address that disparity, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the film can address that directly. I think that hopefully one of the things the film will do is just to bring these issues to light. You know, that this people come out of here knowing what black colleges are, what they represent, and what they can represent in the future. But that is truly the dilemma that we talk about in the final chapter of the film. You know, it's also for professors. You know, you can get paid usually a lot more, you know, at a Harvard than at Howard. You know, you have a bigger budget, you know, for a research budget, you know, all of those things. So that's just the reality of what black colleges are dealing with. But there still they're still important. There's still a need for that, you know, as I call it, it's the only black intellectual space that exists in this country. You know, and as the woman says at the end, you know, movements are birthed on black colleges because it's a place that students who have like minds can get together and talk about things in a way that they might not be able to, you know, at a majority white institution. So there really is a need, and I think there's going to be an even bigger need in the coming years, in the coming storm that we're going to face.
I'll continue a second. Yes, Eli.
Hi, so I went to Hampton University, and the problem of like professors and funding and that type of stuff, you hear about that a lot. And I'm curious, I don't quite understand why, like, you know, HBCUs, like professors don't get paid as much or they don't have as much funding. Where does the funding for the predominantly white schools come from? And why does it?
So there's a lot of obvious reasons. One, the tuitions are a lot higher. You know what I'm saying? So the tuitions are just way higher. You're talking probably, you know, $70,000 or so, you know, to go to a major white institution, you know, and you know, less than half that for black institutions. They also have huge endowments. You know, the white schools have huge endowments that black schools don't. I mean, one of the dilemmas is that a lot of times for black colleges, the alumni are not giving back like they should. And, you know, and that's for a number of reasons. Part of it is that we don't have that tradition, you know, in the black community of you know, we just don't. And so their endowments are, and we're not as rich. Too, but you know, their endowments just aren't the same. So there's a number of reasons why.
Okay, last question. Yes, sir.
Stanley, I want to thank you for including all of us white people in this history of America. We're not present on the screen and we don't need to be, but it's our history too. And I've learned so much from your films. I'll never forget Diane Nash, who I never heard of before I saw the Freedom Ride. I hope that you will, in one of those ancillary chapters, will talk about the gay and lesbian students on these black campuses, because we know what the closet did to academics and did to students into creativity and education. I just hope that you'll be able to do that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, we are still trying to figure out what those chapters will do, how many chapters, extra chapters we need. These are the chapters that we can do for the web, you know, how many we can do, how much money we have to do it, and all those things. We're going to try to raise some more money to do some additional things to surround the film. But to what your first thing, I mean, I think that our history as African Americans is all of our history, and that's always been our idea at Firelight. You know, is that our history is all our history. We don't have to tell it in any special way to include white people or any other kind of people. My mission, what I try to keep in my head is always like, if I'm telling black people something new about their history, then I'm telling white people something new about our history too. So I'm trying to do that. That's what we're trying to do. I think we're running out of time, but once again, anybody here want to say anything?
Can I say something about the website?
Thanks.
So part of what we're trying to do is use this film as a centerpiece of a larger effort leading up to the broadcast called HBCU Rising. And it's an effort to engage all Americans in an examination of the legacy and the future of HBCUs, because a lot of people don't know the history. So we're going to be rolling out the film and bringing the film to campuses, conferences, festivals, movement spaces to make sure people learn this history, and also engaging folks online. So this website will hold StoryCorps audio stories with LGBT students on campuses today talking about what that experience is like for them. Many of the issues that are not in the film, because one film can't tell an entire history, we're using multimedia to essentially fill in the gaps of this larger history. So the website will have more video, audio stories, and eventually a digital yearbook, which is essentially democratizing the historical narrative around HBCUs, so that we're encouraging all folks who have attended HBCUs, who have been educated by HBCUs, to show us their images, photos, stories, and create a crowdsourced archive and essentially a yearbook of the HBCU experience. And that archive is eventually going to live at a very reputable location, which we can't announce yet. But if you follow us on hbcurising.com, you'll learn about it, and you can help us tell this rich, rich history. So certainly there's a lot more to come.
Thank you all again.
A lot of people may not have gone to HBCU with your grandmothers, your grandfathers. Go through those family albums. Be so surprised just to see how far the legacy goes. And please go online with us. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Y'all put our plug in. I just want to say, as the archival producer, HBCUs are the depositories of our history. And because HBCUs are so underfunded, many times the archives are underfunded. So if you're giving money to HBCUs, please think about designating some money to go to the archives so that they can keep the legacy alive with digitization, staffing, etc. It's so important.
Thank you all.
Thanks for your attendance.